Now then, if everything's gone right, I hope we are live. How are you doing, Catz?
I'm doing all right, mate, and I'm glad you're driving the tech today rather than me, because if I was doing it, it definitely wouldn't have gone right.
Right, well, let's do this the real way. Right, okay. You have joined the Almost Unbelievable Paranormal Podcast with Catz and Ranty. I'm Ranty. Are you there, Catz?
I am here, funnily enough, yes. Did you expect a different answer? Yeah, I am here. I'm looking forward to this. Look at Easter special, mate. What have you been doing over your Easter weekend?
It's the Easter special. Oh, I've been working, mate. I mean, yesterday I got finished about 6:30 at night, and I had a few beers and, yeah, just slept. So, life, mate, life. What about you?
Awesome. Yeah, work, and more work, mate. But it's got to be done, isn't it? Make hay while the sun shines and all that.
Well, that's what they say. Right, I'm going to have a check. Do you want to see if the YouTube channel's running okay? Do you want to see if the stream's running all right there?
Yeah, I've got the YouTube channel on now to keep an eye on the chat so I can see that.
Okay.
And we'll just see. Oh, we've got 10 people now, so we'll be on 1 million, mate, in no time.
Oh, well, we've just passed 800 subscribers, which is fantastic. I think on the actual Spotify, I think we have more on Spotify than we do on YouTube, and we have been catching up on a lot of the other podcast streams too. So I think we're spread out everywhere. I think we have more than 800, over everything. It's probably close to about 3,500, I think. So YouTube's just obviously just one side to this.
Yeah. I think it's growing nice. It is. It's growing nice. But having said that, we are here. We've done our first season, haven't we? We've done season 1. This is going to be like the end of season 1, the cap of season 1 before we have a month's break. And hey, mate, Easter special. I've got plenty of Easter stories for you. Have you got some? You got some things you want to tell us?
Yeah, I've got some things to talk about actually. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is we got approached to submit our podcast for an award. So it's going to be up for grabs essentially. So we've got to create a 30-minute video that highlights parts of the show or highlights a clip of the show, let's say, and it will be adjudicated by an independent body who will decide on whose paranormal podcast is the best podcast. So with a bit of luck, you never know, if we do all right with that, we might get an award, because I think the podcast is great. I love the guests that come on. I think the way we bounce off each other, the way we tell the stories, how we lead into things, I think I really enjoy doing this. What can I say?
Yeah, it's good fun. The guests we have are brilliant, and we couldn't do the podcast without the guests for sure. And I have really enjoyed it. It's I think there is a future in it, definitely. But speaking of total subject change, we normally start the podcast off with a little bit of a quiz. I've got an Eastery quiz for you. How you feeling ready to tackle this?
Yeah, go on then. Why not? If you're going to give me a quiz.
All I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the bio of somebody, okay? And I just want you to tell me who that person is.
Okay.
Okay? I'm going to make it as easy as possible. Are you confident?
Well, not really, because easy as possible is only easy if you actually know the answer. So...
Well, let's have a look then. This person I'm thinking of was born to a virgin, okay? He was called the Son of God. He was called the Saviour, and he also went by the name of the second person of the Trinity. He was of royal descent, and as a child, he was visited by wise men who were following a star. His human father was a carpenter, and when he was young, his parents had to flee as a local dictator wanted to kill all the children in the area. It is said that he was without sin, and he travelled teaching and curing people's illnesses, performing miracles such as healing lepers and casting out demons. He was then crucified and resurrected. Who am I talking about?
Well, I think at the very start when you said Son of God, I immediately knew who you were talking about. And of course it has to be David Icke, right?
Yes. Could have been. But yes,
because I actually wanted to change my mind, because you said that he was crucified and resurrected. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think David Icke has been through that yet. So the only other person that fits that criteria, I think I'm right in saying this, is Jesus Christ.
And you would be wrong. The person I'm talking about is Krishna, or at least the version of Krishna, according to, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Bhagavata Purani. Now, or Purana. Now, not all Hindus subscribe to this version of Krishna, and this version of Krishna obviously has striking parallels to the Christian version of Jesus. But the story of this version of Krishna wasn't written until a good couple of centuries after Jesus's time. So you might think that they've based it on Jesus. All right. So let me give you somebody else. Okay. This person was born on the 25th of December. And they were born to a virgin. When they were born, they were placed into a manger. And when they grew up, they traveled as a teacher, performing miracles, such as healing lepers and casting out demons. They were crucified, and then they rose from the dead. They went by the name King of Kings, and among many of their miracles, they turned water into wine. Who am I talking about?
See, I can change wine into water. Especially when it goes through the body, you know. I mean, that's
I can turn it into something.
I can definitely change its properties that way. Not the other way around, though. So the only other person I can think of that would be is maybe Jesus Christ.
Oh, you know what? So close, mate. It is Dionysus, and I've pronounced that wrong. He was the Greek god of wine, and he was born 1,000 years before Jesus's time. So was Jesus based on this character? Who knows? So definitely not Jesus. And in fact, there's a whole ton of characters who have similar stories. Here's another one. This person is reported to have been born on the 25th of December, although that's not confirmed. He was placed in a manger when he was born. He was visited by wise men who followed a star. He performed miracles such as walking on water and turning water into wine. He was crucified, and then 3 days later he rose from the dead. Who could I be talking about?
Ooh, well, now that definitely sounds like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that one was Jesus. I was hoping you said, I don't know, but it's definitely not Jesus. You got me on that. But the point is, like, the story of Jesus is so well known, isn't it? But actually, when I was doing a little bit of research for this, if you just type in figures of Jesus, characters that match Jesus's description before Jesus was born, or something like that, if you just Google that, there's literally dozens. Like, there's a whole website that's got 25 of these characters who all have the same story that Jesus had centuries before he was born. So it does make you wonder, was the story of Jesus based on those other things? Or for those people who are religious, is it the same character who is just living the same life over and over again, centuries apart? Who knows? What do you think?
I don't know. I haven't got a time machine, mate. I wish I did. I could go back and find out. Right, listen, we have Christian McMullen, who's in the chat, and funnily enough, they're in the draw for later on today. So in case anybody is aware or not aware, we're running a draw today for the Patreons that support us on Patreon. So the winner of that gets to choose any item from our store. If you haven't checked it out, I think the link might be in the description. If it's not, I'll put it up later, but it is on Teespring. So that'll be at the end of the show, I think, about an hour's time. So we'll be doing that live draw. So anybody that's in, as I say, anybody that's in our Patreons will be put into the current draw. So there you go. And let's say a few hellos to some of the other people that are in. We've got Scorpia ZA, Karmic Fox, Paul Harrington, Gareth Bunting, and Christian McMullen. We've also got some dude in there called Baldy Catz. Weird.
He's got a wrench as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, who moderated that guy? I don't know. Right. Well, seeing as you started with a quiz, I think I might start with a quiz too. Actually, let me get something up for you. So now I sent you some images before. Please tell me that you got them.
Are we talking about the images for the show or the private images?
No, don't show them ones. We're definitely not going down that route. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put on screen for the audience to see. We have got some images, and this is more of a Mandela effect again, because we had quite a bit of fun last time we talked about the Mandela. And we've got two images on screen. One of them is spelled, obviously, Fruit Loops with Fruit, and on the right-hand side it's Fruit Loops with FROOT loops. Now then, can you tell me, of those two images, which one do you believe is the correct spelling and correct image for that product?
Now, I know I'll not give the answer away, obviously, because I know we went through this before the show. I'll tell you what I went for. I'm not going to tell you whether it's right or wrong, but I went for the image that's... is this inverted because you project it? It's on the left for me. That's the one I went for.
Yes, you went for the one on the left, right, with the correct pronunciation of Fruit Loops. But apparently, that's never been the case. So now that confused me because I was sure that it was the one on the left. Apparently not, though. So apparently the correct spelling is FROOT loops. So go figure, it's never been Fruit Loops. Right, the next one, we have Skechers. We have two images of Skechers. And for those listening on the podcast, it will be SKETCHERS. And on the right, it's SKECHERS. Without the T, basically. So, which one did you go for again, Catz?
Now, I went for... Let's see if anyone in the chat can beat me to it. But I went for the one on the left. So before you tell us if we're right or wrong, let's see if anyone in the chat just maybe could put a left or a right and see what they think. But I definitely went for the one on the left.
Yep, that's true. You went for the one on the left. And I have to say, you know, if it was down to me too and I had to pick... I would have picked also the one on the left, which would have been the Skechers with a T. Apparently not. Apparently it's never been with a T. It's always been SKECHERS. No T. And
it's incredible, isn't it?
Christian seemed to get that one wrong as well. So there you go. And finally, now this is the corker, this is the best one. This is the best one, right? So, we have Febreze. Now, I don't know if you get that in America, but here in the UK, we definitely get it. And Catz, well, actually, I'll tell us the spellings of these. There's FEBREEZE on the left, and on the right, it's FEBREEZE. And which one did you go for, Catz?
Well, the thing is, I was ultra confident with this one because, to be honest, I do a lot of stinky trumps and I need Febreze a lot. So just put that one out there. So we use Febreze all the time, and I was 100% confident the one on the left, absolutely. And I could see Rachie 50 said the same. Hi, Rachie. Michael P says left. So yeah, I was 100% confident with that. But James has agreed with me. Was I right?
Well, apparently not. The one on the right is the correct pronunciation. The one on the left has never, ever existed. So the double E is history because it never was there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that surprised me, that one. That really, really did. Sometimes I see some of the Mandela effect things and I know, okay, and I know where the confusions come from. Like the C3PO with the silver leg, or the Monopoly guy with the monocle, etc. But these genuinely caught me out. All three genuinely caught me out.
3 for 3. I got you with 3 for 3 there. And
you bugger.
I think we'll have to do some of these on our next podcast too. The next time we do a live, I think we'll definitely have to keep this as a theme. There seems to be quite a lot of them out there that have a lot of people confused.
They're good, yeah. We should, like I say, every time we do a live, we should put some of those up. They're fun. It's nice little quiz. But you definitely got me. So I'm going to see if I can get you back now. See if I can get you back and the chat, because I have another Easter story, and I want you to tell me whether basically it's true or I've made it up. Okay, what do you feel about that? Think you can do it?
Okay, fine, fair enough.
Okay.
Sounds good.
When we did our Christmas special, we talked about Krampus, and we said that Krampus was like an evil version of Santa, and he would come and basically take naughty children at Christmas, or just put coal in the stockings, depending on the version of Krampus that you listen to. And yeah, Krampus is a genuine sort of mythical fairy tale
I've made it up.
sort of creature. So, have you heard of Entropolis?
No, and I've got quite a good vocabulary, so that's no.
Well, Entropolis is sort of like the Easter version of Krampus. He's an evil version of the Easter Bunny. He's actually a hare, and I'll tell you the backdrop to Entropolis, and you can tell me what you think. We all know that Easter comes from pagan roots, and there were two Lithuanian pagan tribes, one called the Hithengri and one called the Udalites, I think, if I've pronounced that right. Now, they had a pagan festival around about Easter every single year where they made sacrifices to the sun and rain gods, so they would hopefully end up with a healthy crop for that year. And both of these tribes lived on the opposite side of the same bit of wasteland where the rabbits and hares kind of like lived. And what they did is every time this festival, the Easter festival, where they made the sacrifices would come around, both tribes would meet on that wasteland, and they'd hunt for rabbits and hares. They'd take them back and they'd offer those as part of the sacrifice. Anyway, one year, for whatever reason, whether it would be predation or disease or whatever, there were barely any rabbits or hares to be caught on that wasteland. Hardly any at all. And the tribes were concerned that what they'd taken back to the camps or towns or villages or whatever wasn't going to be enough to appease the gods. So the Udalites, they snuck over the wasteland in the middle of the night to the Hithengri camp while everybody was asleep, and they slaughtered all the men of childbearing age. And not only did they bring back the rabbits and hares that had been stolen from the Hithengri camp, they also brought back the bodies of the men that they killed, and they offered them all as a sacrifice because they thought a bigger sacrifice was needed, for some reason that year, because there were no rabbits or whatnot. They thought they displeased whoever they were sacrificing things for. Anyway, so legend has it that the women and children from the Hithengri camp were obviously stunned by it. They were a bit miffed by that. They were a bit upset by that. So what they did is they carried out their own ritual where they summoned a demon spirit in the shape of a hare, which protected the village. And as time moved on, this hare kind of now is like free, and it roams the world. And around about Easter time, what it will do is it will hunt down men of childbearing age who have evil in their heart going to sleep before Easter, and when they wake up, they're quite often found dead with scratches on their face or the back, and that is the legend of Entropolis. So it's like an anti-Easter bunny. Now, my question to you and the people in the chat is that a genuine legend, or have I just pulled that right out my jacksie?
I'm sorry, but I tell you what, the first 3/4 of that, I was bought into it, but then I was thinking, you went into quite a lot of detail. I mean, this really had to have been something you would have had to prepare for weeks, let's say, to make this up. But that last bit when you started, that seemed to that last part where it goes down hunting men of childbearing age, I just didn't get that. I can't believe. I am going to say, listen, A plus for effort, but I'm going to say no. I don't think it's true.
Well, let's see what the chat say. Let's have a look. Rachie50 says true. Okay. James Alvarez says he'd love it to be true. But I'm not saying that this thing actually exists. I'm saying that's the myth. Like, I'm not saying Krampus exists. I'm just saying there is a myth of Krampus. Christian McMullen says, does it leave eggs made of something else that's brown and melty? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? An Easter bunny that dumps poo Easter eggs. But then he says no. So it's a 50-50 split. Okay, and I'll be honest, in the 5 minutes before we joined the Skype call, I made that up.
5 minutes? You made that up in 5 minutes? You should be a writer. You should write books like this. If you just pulled that out of your jacksie in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it I pulled out my jacksie while I only had the bullet points, so I pulled it out while I was saying it. I was filling the blanks in my mind as I was coming up with it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so there we go.
talking about, well, let's move on from pulling bullet points out of your jacksie. Let's talk about my story. I have a story now. Now, this is obviously, you're going to be giving me stories that I need to try and decipher. I'm just going to read a story that popped up recently on Reddit, and I want to get your opinion of this firsthand because you haven't heard this yet. So I'm just going to read it to you off the cuff. So I need you to listen because last time I read a story, your mind drifted somewhere and you just answered something completely different. So
I'll focus this time. I'll get my second earphone in, and you'll see I'm going to be in the zone, mate. You'll see me focused and zoned. I might even make some notes on this. Let's go pro, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because I did. For anyone watching, I did actually start thinking about me tea last time he told me a story on a live stream, and when he asked my opinion, I had no idea what he was talking about. So let's do this.
Right, here we go.
I'm gonna get this in.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll tell you what I am going to do as well. Tomorrow, just as a one-off special, I think I'm going to release. I'm going to edit it today. Actually, I'm going to release the last time we made a podcast about the Arlington Cemetery, and you tried about 20 times to say a sentence or two and you couldn't do it. Literally, we were recording for about 10 hours and he couldn't get it right. He kept screwing up. It was so funny. Anyway, right, never mind, that just randomly popped into my head. Right, let me tell you about this. Right,
crack on.
Here we go. This is what the title of the story is called. So it's called I Saw Myself from 3 months Before. Now, it's from a Redditor called Drippy_Dreamer, and it was posted 20 hours ago. It's been very well received, so it tells you that it's obviously quite an interesting story. So here we go. Little short backstory. Last year I moved into an apartment building that had a laundry room open at all hours. I was up at weird times, so I do laundry at like 3 a.m, and almost nobody was around. I'd get a drink or something at the vending machine whilst I waited for my laundry to finish up. Anyway, the months passed and everything was going okay. Then, one day, things felt weird. Now tell me if you've heard something similar like this in the past. It just fell off. When I went downstairs to do laundry, it seemed like everything was a bit fuzzy. I didn't really think much of it and just started doing the routine. Anyway, I hadn't shaken that weird feeling, and when my dryer time went off, I went to go and get my stuff. In front of the vending machine, I saw the spitting image of myself from when I had just moved into the building. Black shorts, beat farm shirt, my hair pulled up into a tiny man bun. I even had my tattoos in the right spots. It wasn't a still image, it moved, and it looked just like me. I had to stop looking because one of my neighbours came in the front door asking if I had seen his buddy who had been missing for 8 hours. I said I hadn't seen him, and when I looked back, me in front of the vending machine was gone, but it didn't end there. My neighbour was still looking for his buddy, and he had gone outside to the back of the building to meet up with some of our other neighbours who also went looking for him. They were talking about seeing weird lights in the sky, and something I noticed which put me really off was the lack of cars. We lived right up to against a highway, and even at 3 a.m, there were always cars, and yet, on this day there was none. It was silent. And then, the missing neighbour came downstairs, and had absolutely no idea he'd been missing for 8 hours. All he remembered was getting into his car to go and buy some cigarettes. He had no idea how he randomly spawned back into his flat. What happened? A thin spot in the fabric of time? Faulty universe wiring? These aren't the only things to have happened in my building, and I'm convinced that on the whole this was some sort of dimensional bubble of sorts. What do you think?
Well, I listened to that, and
I'm glad you listened to that.
Now, on the podcast, we've had a few people talk about moving from, feeling like they're going from one dimension to another. And I'm obviously no psychologist, but I have had the opportunities lately with getting some stories like this to try and research what makes people feel that way. So we'll start with the person who's maybe thinks have seen their buddy, seen their double. So I think last time I heard a story like this, I found a paper on dissociative disorders. Now, I didn't realize that everybody in their life will have a phase. Pretty much almost everybody in their life has a phase where they go through, they have like a dissociative episode. Unfortunately, about 2% of these people will have them repeated, throughout life. It would be like a chronic condition. And during these episodes, for whatever reason, they can be caused by elevated hormones linked to chronic stress. They can be elevated by lack of sleep or tiredness. They can be elevated even by infrasound. Infrasound, sorry. So during these episodes, you feel as if you are outside of your own body. You feel as if time is running differently. You have real difficulty recognizing shapes and objects. And I reckon if this mate that his neighbor was looking for had been around there, and he was undergoing one of these episodes, maybe he's looked at that person and his brain has said, because he's having one of these disorders, that he's seeing a reflection of himself. Maybe I think it's more of the way his brain was perceiving what was going on. That's obviously, I wasn't there, but that's what I would pin it down to. When you said somebody had gone back into, like, had missed 8 hours, are we talking about the neighbor who'd lost his buddy had then lost 8 hours? Is that who you said it was?
Yeah, the buddy that had gone missing for 8 hours.
Oh, and then the buddy had come down and said
he had no idea. The last thing he remembered was getting his car to go and buy some cigarettes, and yet, he just seemed to wake up in his flat, but he'd been disappeared. He'd gone. He wasn't in the flat because his neighbour was looking for him. He'd been gone for 8 hours.
See, the strange thing about this story is both of those things have happened at the same time. Because again, we've looked into, in previous podcasts, we've looked into why people may feel they've got huge chunks of time missing. And again, it comes down to similar things to the dissociative disorder we were talking about before. So in and of itself, feeling that huge gaps of time have gone missing is a normal psychological sort of phenomenon. But I agree that it's a massive coincidence that would happen to two people differently, in different ways, at exactly the same time. This kind of cynic in me, tells me that if somebody's... Did this bloke have a girlfriend by any chance?
I don't know.
The kind of cynic in me tells me that if some bloke was married or had a girlfriend and then disappeared and come back 8 hours later and said, "Oh, I didn't know where I was," what an episode. Maybe he's been somewhere he didn't want his friends to know, but that's all I can say. So I don't know. The individual parts of that story, I think, can be explained away by psychology, but I obviously wasn't there. Okay,
well, I'm going to respectfully disagree, and for a couple of reasons. So the first thing is this weird feeling that he got on the day when he went down to go and do the laundry. That tells me that something, he already felt something was off. Now, that's not the first time that we've heard something like that. We've had other people when they've had these glitches in the Matrix. Alexandra, for instance, when she came on and she told her story, it was exactly the same. She just felt something was off. It's weird that these people all seem to say the same sort of thing happens to them just before this kind of glitch happens. Now, he says that too. He also goes into this tattoos, seeing his tattoos and stuff like that. He doesn't mention that he's, there's a mirror there or anything like that. He says because it's actually moving around in front of him. So I believe that point. And the other part to this is the most interesting part, is that if a neighbour was looking for his buddy, right? Neighbour's looking for his buddy. He's been gone for 8 hours, right? So he knows he knows he's not in the building. He knows he's been gone for 8 hours. But yet, the guy that's been missing for 8 hours doesn't even, when he reappears, doesn't know he's been gone for 8 hours. He just wakes up and after the last time being in his car. I mean, it just makes no sense. I mean, to me, I think something definitely happened at that time. I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on there for sure. That's my opinion. But
yeah. But you're right in what you say, that a lot of, we have spoke to a lot of people who have given us stories, people that don't know each other, that have given us these types of stories that do have a lot of common threads. And FTFE himself, who we all know are skeptical, fight the flat earthers, he had a very similar story as well. So, there is a reason that some people lose big gaps of time, and there is a reason that people feel as if they're removed and everything's fuzzy or they're confused, as if like they're in a different kind of world or something. Like I said, for me, when I've researched what that reason is, I'm pretty satisfied with the dissociation. And there's quite a few. I can't remember the exact ones now because you put me on the spot. But there was a specific one that was more related to that type of situation. But who knows? You know, it'd be great, wouldn't it? If I was wrong, I'd love it. Love to be wrong.
Well, let me do a few shout outs to some of the other people that have joined. We've got Sean Hufford in. Nice to see him.
Hey, Sean.
He says, with the green screen. I do have a green screen behind me, but unfortunately the lighting is over there. It should be back there, but there's a wall there. You know, my setup's changed from when I'm usually using my green screen setup. Normally I would have the lights over in front of me, but so that's why I'm looking a little bit green around there. So yeah, that's the reason for that. And who else have we got in? We've got Michael P's in. We've got Neil at Light Diode Designs UK. Nice to see you in. We've got SE Montreal, Paul Keeling, and who else? Karma Fox, Rachy. Nice to see you in. And yeah, there's a few different people in today. So welcome one and all. You've already missed the start of the show. We've been going for 30 minutes already. Can you believe that? I believe you've got another. You've got another one for me now. You're going to test me again. I've got this one.
Not really.
I'm 1 for 1 now. I am 1 for 1 though.
It's not quite a test. It's just more an Easter themed topic I wanted to bring up. Obviously, around about Easter, reincarnation or resurrection. Reincarnation, resurrection. Always those types of stories are always suited for this time of year. So, have you ever heard of a guy called Dr. Ian Stevenson?
Yes, I have actually.
Have I told you about him, or have you?
That's what you by surprise.
Yeah.
So yes, I have heard of him. Carry on.
Well, he was a genuine, proper psychiatric doctor, psychiatrist. God, what word is it? He was a psychiatric psychiatrist. There we go. Bloody hell.
You got it in the end. You got it in the end.
I got it in the end, yeah. And he was very, very good. He actually, at the age of 38, he was the chair of psychiatry at the University of Virginia. So, you have to be held in really high regard to hold a position like that at a respected university. But he did himself have, he had a real interest in sort of like paranormal, supernatural, and he wanted to do studies with that, but the university wouldn't fund it. So he carried on his normal work at the university, but then somebody who supported his kind of drive to do research into that area died, and they happened to be a millionaire, and they left him $1 million, and the $1 million was left to him in the will to support that research, to say, you don't need the university's funding, you can go and, apply your scientific mind to do it for as long as you want now, because $1 million, this like 50, 60 years ago, or maybe a bit less, so it was a lot of money. So anyway, for the rest of his career, that's what Ian Stevenson did. And he interviewed over 3,000 children who claimed to have had past life stories. And he did it in a very scientific way. And he was a bit of a trendsetter. And I'm quite interested because he was properly scientifically trained. He knew the type of questions to ask. He knew the way to conduct studies. What do you think his conclusions were after the 3,000 studies? Do you think he concluded that reincarnation or resurrection was real? Or do you think he concluded, oh, balls, that's a waste of time?
You told me the answer to this, and for the life of me, I can't remember it. So you told me this. It was on one of the podcasts 6 or 8 weeks ago, I think, and I've slept since then. And normally what happens when I sleep is I forget everything that happened the day before. So every time I wake up, it's a new day, and everything that happened the day before I completely forgot. So I have no answer to that. I don't know. If I'm going to take a guess, I'm going to say what was the two things?
So the question is, do you think after interviewing 300 children and doing so many studies that he came to the conclusion that there was a scientifically significant the evidence significantly pointed towards resurrection being real?
Oh, crikey, yeah. Do you know, every time you say it, it reminds me that we've spoken about this, but I can't remember the answer. I'm just going to have to say yes.
We'll see what people in the chat say. although we're probably a little bit behind. So I'll give you the answer and we'll see whether they were right. Basically, he determined after spending that $1 million over 30 or 40 years that he was wrong, and that there was no statistically significant results that he gained at all to say that there definitely was resurrection or something like that. But there was one story he had that kind of become legendary, because try as he might, he just couldn't, even though he found answers for the other stories, the other 2,999, there was one that really bugged him. In fact, Scorpius said, hey, he's just put that in there. If I recall, he had only one case he could not debunk. Yeah, you're right. And here is the case. See what you think. There was a toddler, a little girl, so, 2-3 years old, and she heard her mother talk about a town called Kataragama. I'll probably pronounce that wrong. And when she heard her mother talk about that, she said to her mum, "Oh, I used to live there with my brother, who she described as having learning difficulties." And she said she lived there until her brother pushed her into a river and killed her. She drowned. So obviously the mum was a bit disturbed by that, and the more the conversation developed, she said she had a dad there called Hereth, who was a flower salesman, and he was bald. Not like me, I'm not bald, I can grow my hair, I just choose to keep it short. And he sold flowers near a Buddhist temple. She described the house she lived in that had like a glass window, not a skylight in the roof, but actually a glass huge glass window in the roof. She said she had dogs that were tied up in the backyard, and the neighbours used to throw meat over the wall to treat the dogs for it to eat. And when Ian Stevenson, did a deep dive into this, if you like, he discovered that there was a girl that was drowned by a brother with special needs in a river. They did have a father who was a salesman who sold flowers near a Buddhist temple, who did live in a house with a glass ceiling with dogs tied up, etc. There were 30 statements the child made. 3 of them were incorrect. The first one that was incorrect was the name of the dad's father. He wasn't called Hereth, but there was a Hereth in the family, a male Hereth in the family, but it wasn't the father. The father wasn't bald, and I forget what the last one was. But out of all the studies that he took part in, 3,000 studies, that was the one that he said he couldn't actually debunk, if you like. He couldn't find an answer for it. So I thought it was quite interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
It was, yeah. I mean, I remember reading a story. I don't believe, obviously, that this guy interviewed this particular child, but I heard of a very similar event of a young boy that had grown up, and throughout all his early childhood, all he could talk about was, "You're not my family," to his family. "You're not my family. My family lives in such a place." And he described his wife, his kids, where they lived, where the address was and everything. It got to the point, I think, when the child was maybe, I'm going to say 6 or 7, I think it was, that they actually decided to take a trip out and go and see if this child could direct them, to the house. And what do you know? He did. He drove him right to the house, turned left, turned right, turned up that hill, turned left, knocked on the door, and, I'm going to say that the name's, I don't know, let's say Lucy. So he knocks on the door, and this little child knocks on the door. Woman answers the door, and he goes, "Hey, Lucy, I'm home." And, obviously Lucy had no idea what she'd let herself into, but turned out that he knew everything about how they met, where they got married, what the kids' names were, how old they were, what years they were born, everything. And that was one that I remember. So I think if he'd have studied that one too, he would have probably come up with the same result with that.
Well, those stories are fascinating. And he did study a lot like that. And I remember when I think I did a video on Dr. Ian Stevenson for the Baldy Catz channel, and with a lot of the stories that were like that, when he tried to hunt down the actual, there'd be stories, locally famous stories about a child that had an experience like that. But when he actually tried to track down the people in question, he found that he just couldn't track them down. So either they didn't exist or they didn't exist. So he really struggled to track them down. But the ones that he could track down, he found that he could usually debunk them. But I think those stories are ace. He did have one significant finding, which I thought was quite interesting. He found that children that have been born with deformities, so quite, severe visual deformities, so hands, face, things like that. They were more prone to reincarnation stories. So, for example, somebody with a facial deformity would be more prone to having a story about a past life where they were shot dead in the face, right? Or somebody with a birthmark on a big birthmark on the stomach had been stabbed, or these violent deaths. And he come to the conclusion, he used his sort of psychological knowledge to arrive at the conclusion that the creation of these past stories were a coping mechanism for these kids to help them, how can I put it, just cope with the fact that they had these deformities, just to help them accept them as they were growing up, and make them feel as if they weren't different to other kids, which I thought was quite sad in a way.
Yeah. We do have a couple of people in the chat that we have. Where has he gone now? I just have to find him. It's a little bit up. Just one sec. It's a me, Mario Ree. Nice to see you in the chat. But he says that, or she says, I remember hear this story in the podcast. So yeah, I think we did talk about that on one of the podcasts some time ago. We mentioned this this child that went and found his Lucy. So. I'm glad that you're listening to our podcasts. What can I say? At least it shows that we've got a dedicated fan in the stream. And we've also got somebody else that says that the Pollock twins, the most memorable story of reincarnation was the Pollock twins. Have you heard of them?
The Pollock twins, are they two little girls?
I don't know.
Well, I feel as if I did a Baldy Cats video about 15 months ago on Resurrection and Ian Stevenson, and I've got a feeling that their name came up in my research. Whether I put them in the video or not, I can't remember, but I've got a feeling they were two little girls or two sisters.
Okay, maybe they can enlighten us on that. So I have something to show. Now I sent you this link, and I believe you had a little look at it before as well, didn't you? Before we went on live. So let me get this up, and we're going to see what the audience thinks of this, right? So we don't need sound on, so that can go off. So again, this is apparently a video that is capturing a entity running around the trees and in this vicinity here, sort of like in the center of the screen. Now this was caught on a Ring doorbell. So if anybody's used them, they are quite good cameras actually, and they detect movement and things like this, and they start recording. So I'm not too sure whether this was because it detected the movement or whether or not it just was on record the entire time. But the quality is quite decent, and what you're going to see is when it gets to around about, well, immediately pretty much, you can see something darting around in the trees. So I've just started to play it now, and for the audience to see, and there is definitely something, or it appears to be something, that's moving around the trees. So I'm going to see what the audience thinks to this as well, and obviously I want your input too, Catz, obviously, because you had a chance to look at it before. What do you think? Let me play that again.
I think I think because of the speed that it moves, especially towards the end of this video, it seems to jump very quickly from one place to the other. So, and I'm not an expert on this type of stuff by a long shot, but for me, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something actually on the lens of the camera, because of some sort of bug or something on the lens of the camera. Because when it moves, even just a little bit, it's gonna create what appears to be a big jump in the background, isn't it, if it's on the lens? So I imagine it's going to be something like that, but I'd love to hear from people in the chat, see what they think.
A bug on the lens, I never thought of that, but it doesn't. Well, you're the scientist here, so it's your reason to, you've got to find an excuse. I understand that, but to me it goes behind the tree, so it disappears when it goes behind the tree, and then I don't know.
Remember how the image is stored? Like, I think that guy that talked to us about Dogman he was explaining this, and I've done a bit of research into it after, because again, in terms of how digital image is stored, it's something that's pretty new to me. But it does turn out that these sort of cameras, to save space, the way they compress the files, they'll record the background, and then they'll only kind of update the image with anything that moves, and so they're not constantly having to build up data for the rest of the background. It makes the file smaller. So how can I put it? That way that data is stored and compressed can make it look like things are, for example, moving behind the tree, or things are transparent and being blurred into the background, because it's combining like an historic still with something that's new, and trying to figure out the best to do with it. I need to research that a lot better and make a video on that, because there's a lot of like these videos are used to as evidence for things that perhaps maybe aren't. But is there anyone in the chat who knows a bit better about how data is compressed and stored?
Well, funnily enough, not about the data, but it does seem that the majority of the audience, if not every single one, seems to think that it is actually some kind of dust or moth or something like that, some kind of insect that's causing this effect. So
you see,
maybe I'll have to concede. I'll have to concede that one then.
Well, see, I think for that, what would do it for me is if there was two cameras, both showing the same thing in the same place. And we did have that podcast. Was it Alex or Sam who sent in the video? Sam, and there was something that was caught from two different angles that looked like that. And now that was interesting. That couldn't be explained by what I was saying. I'm not sure what that was, but it would be. I think something like that has to be caught by two cameras for me to think it's probably anything other.
Let me tell you what it was. It was a ghost.
Oh, here we go.
It was a ghost, mate.
Oh, sorry.
That's what it was.
Fact done. Rabbi Jock in the chat has just said he works with security cameras all the time, and they are quite buggy and laggy, and he sees stuff like that all the time. And Sean Hufford says MPEG compression only updates pixels between frames that change, and out of focus objects get artifacted oddly. So it sounds like he knows a lot more about it than me. But it's something I think I'll make a video on. Yeah, but yeah, let's get more footage like that, but see if we can get it from two cameras focusing on the same point.
I think Sean Hufford would be the go-to guy for this, to be fair. If you was looking for somebody to actually go to for that, he'd be the man for that.
Yeah, I might drop him a text after the show. Okay, right. Let's test your memory on.
Oh god! So I'll test my memory. Right, go on then.
Okay, let's test your memory on the resurrection. It's an Easter special. Okay, I'm going to give you some versions of what happened in the resurrection, and I want you to tell me which is the right one. Okay.
Okay.
From these stories, so when the tomb was found, it was found by A, only Mary Magdalene and another one called Mary, or B, Mary Magdalene and another Mary and someone called Salome, or the empty tomb was found by a group of women that had come out of Galilee to see Jesus, including Mary Magdalene, someone called Joanna, and someone called the mother of James. And which one of those? I've garbled all the way through that. I should have memorized these before I said it. Who do you think found the tomb? Do you think any of those are correct?
No, I don't think any of them are correct.
You see, they are all correct. According to Matthew, it was just Mary Magdalene and
I was going to say, I knew Mary Magdalene was there and I knew Mary, but I'm sure there was another guy there that you've not mentioned.
According to John, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb alone, but then she did run off to find Peter, who returned to the tomb with her with another disciple. So we've got four very, 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 very different accounts from the four Gospels of people who were supposed to have been there at the time. What do you make of that?
I think from recollection, I believe a lot of the Bible was written many decades, even sometimes centuries after the event. So I could be wrong, But that's what I think. And also, I mean, don't forget, back then they didn't have a telephone. And they did, it's not like they could Skype someone. Hey, what happened yesterday? Like, I mean, things get a bit muffled, and you know, who knows? Maybe the message got a little bit distorted.
I agree. And I've had this discussion with Ray Comfort and Kent Hovind when they've been talking, when I've done debates against young Earth creationists, they've talked about genetic entropy and how the genome should be degrading over time. So we trace that back. Then it was a perfect genome from Noah who stepped off the ark, etc. And I've thrown the same back, and then I said, well, what about the degradation of information through text? And I've used this as an example. You have different accounts in the Bible for exactly the same stories. And I tell you what, Ray Comfort, I'm sure it was Ray Comfort, when I brought this up, he said to me, no, that's not true. There are no different accounts. There's no differences in the accounts whatsoever. It's just, what was it, personalized opinion. It was just the subjective accounts. They all saw the same thing. It was just the subjective accounts, which I think is wrong. So let's test this. Who was in the tomb? Who was in the tomb when they? Who? Balls. I'm gonna have to find that in a minute. I've just lost my tag. Well, that went well, didn't it? Can we go to one of your stories now? I accidentally shut the page down.
You know how to reset it up. Oh, the whole page. Well, you can restore the whole page. You just go into your history.
Oh God.
3 dots on the right, and then you go to history, and then recently closed, and then boom.
Got it. So. I really just wanted to use this as an example to talk about inconsistencies in the Bible around the resurrection story and what that says about the resurrection story, because how can I put it? I'm just quite skeptical. I'm just quite skeptical. I want to talk about the inconsistencies. What's your thoughts on the resurrection story? I'm not asking you to tell me whether you're Christian or not Christian or anything like that. But what are your thoughts on the possibility of that?
My goodness. Who knows? I mean, obviously, if there's a creator, he can do what he wants. He can bring anyone back. So, I'm not going to say that that's not the case. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things in history that we don't understand. I think a lot of stories in the past, civilizations that you would never think existed that exist now. That don't exist now, that you can't imagine what it would have been like to live in those times and how they got by and what they did and what they didn't do. I mean, just totally different eras and totally different things. Can somebody bring somebody back from the dead? Well, if there's a creator, he can do what he wants.
Yeah, no, fair point. Karmic Fox has brought a point. He said that 2 angels were in the tomb, and then though they found 2 angels in the tomb. Which was what? Who was it? According to Luke, it was 2 men in dazzling apparel. Although it's not clear whether they were in the tomb or just outside of it. According to Mark, it was just a single man in a white robe sitting inside the tomb. According to John, the tomb was initially just empty, and then after they returned to the tomb, they saw 2 angels in white there. So it is an inconsistency in the story. But like you said, if this has been lost in translation over a long period of time, that might explain it. But I wouldn't understand why they wouldn't get their story straight with each other when they. I don't know. It seems odd to me that. But anyway, that was my inconsistencies in the Bible bit.
I think, that would be something for perhaps agree to disagree to discuss. So, if he was able to get a guest on that knows how the Bible was actually produced, let's say, what the timescale was. I believe it was many centuries that this was written over. So, and obviously it was inscribed from different person. Translations get muddled up. That's how I believe it was. So maybe there's somebody out there that could perhaps contact us to let us know about that, because I'd be interested to know.
Oh, it was definitely written over a long time. The editing team must have had a real nightmare trying to keep track with all the changes. Definitely written over a long period of time. Have you got something else for me?
I have got nothing for you now. The one thing I do have though is the spinny wheel of death. No, the spinny wheel of the spinny wheel. The spinny wheel. Have you got another story, or are we go into the spinny wheel?
No, I think we've filled the hour quite nicely there. I think we can do the spinny wheel of death and call it a day.
The spinny wheel of death. I love it. I love it. Right. Okay. So let me get the spinny wheel of death up. Right. So if anybody's been following what we've put on Twitter, what we've put on YouTube as well, we've also announced it onto YouTube on the channel discussions page, I think it is, and we put out there that if you were a Patreon of ours, then you would get entered into a draw to let me just
you will get entered. If you're a Patreon of ours, you're going to get entered. We've got to find a different way to phrase that. That's
right. I knew you were going to pick up on that. I just knew it. How did I know?
Couldn't help it.
Right. Okay. So for those that aren't getting entered, that's great. For those that are entered, I hope you enjoy yourselves. Right, here we go. This is the Almost Unbelievable Teespring account, Teespring store, with all our Teespring stuff on there. We've got all kinds of stuff, stickers and socks and face masks and you name it, all kinds of cool stuff. This is leggings, I believe, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff up there anyway. So these are pretty cool. I enjoyed making these and designing these with these dragons on and things like that. So pretty cool. So basically, the winner of this draw can pick any of the merch that we've got on here. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. There's even kids stuff. There's some Samsung cases, all this kind of stuff. And you've even got some with Catz's mug face on there, and I believe my mug face is on there too, but I'm not going to show them because I don't want to upset the audience too much. So so what we will do though is we will do the draw. So these are all our current Patreons. I believe there's 9. I can't remember. I think there's 9. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, there's 9 Patreons currently. So they're all in the spinny wheel of death. So we're going to spinny wheel of death it now, and hopefully we're going to get a winner. And the winner can choose whatever they want. So anything they want from the store, they can pick, and we'll post it out to them. So here we go. Let's see who wins. Whoa! Bevel, well done, Bevel. You have won the spinny wheel of death, and you get to choose any of our products from the Teespring store. So I'll contact you, I'll email you and let you know that you've won, and then you can pick what you like. So happy days, we have a winner. We have our first winner on our first giveaway.
If we made some Almost Unbelievable boxer shorts, whose face would go on the front and whose face would go on the back?
If we make, hey, listen, let's ask the audience. If the audience wants us to make some boxer shorts, right, with Cat's face on the back and my face on the front, or the way around,
or vice versa. Yeah,
put 1 in the chat if you want that to actually happen, and put any other number if you do not want that to exist ever.
Who should be on the back end of that? My word.
Oh, right. Well, I would hope that the audience would vote that you get put on the back. That's what I would hope.
The thing is, they'll get you because, like, once they've been on for a few days, you just turn them the other way around, don't you? And then you save up on your washing up powder.
No, it's not Bev level, by the way. It's not Bev level that's won. It's a Bev somebody else. I've just not put the surname in just for keeping things discreet a little bit. So there we go. So we've got 99,999. I don't think they want. I don't think they want us on. One cheek and another cheek. Apparently, we can be on. I can be on the right cheek and you can be on the left, Catz. How's that?
I like that. Yeah, cheeky. Yeah, cool.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, I think that'll do us. We've been going for an hour now. So, anything else to say? Oh yes. So this fiction podcast that we're going to be putting our podcast for to be adjudicated, and hopefully we'll get maybe a prize. Who knows? It would be nice if we could get a prize, because we have to find 30 minutes of content to put their way so that they can evaluate us. So if you really, really want to help us out, because I'll be doing the editing of this tomorrow, I would really, really appreciate it if you could leave a comment after the stream has finished uploading and come back to the stream, come back to this this video, and please leave a comment with your specific favourite part or favourite moment of the actual podcasts that we've put out. Now, we've put out about 20 currently, so there's plenty of content to go through. So if you find something that really, really made you happy, or it's a very memorable event, please tell me about it so that I will be able to clip it out and attach it to the 30-minute video that we need to send their way for evaluation. So you will be helping us out massively, because I think all the content we've put out is great, but trying to pick a particular moment, it's really tough. So this is why, I think we need the audience to help us with this.
Cool. Yeah, it'd be nice to get see how we place in that. But for now, we're having a break, aren't we, for a few weeks, and then we'll be back about a month.
Less than that, actually. Now I believe it's about 2.5 weeks, so you haven't got that long to have off now. We do have, I think we've got 2 or 3 already recorded, ready to go. So we're not. Maybe we need to create content for a month's time, but we definitely have some content ready to go. They're ready for season 2, because season 1 is over with now. And yeah, season 2 will be back. I believe it's going to be at the back end of April. So sometime after the 20th, I would think. Sometime after the 20th of April. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you up to date. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to us, because we've got 809 subscribers now. It would be fantastic to get to 1,000. We really would, because we do want to monetize. We do want to get 1,000 subscribers, and we do want to, get the monetization going, don't we, Catz?
Oh, we'll give PewDiePie a run for his money. That's what do we want?
Yes, we definitely want to give PewDiePie a run for his money. I mean, our 1,000 subscribers are going to smash anything that PewDiePie can bring in, right?
But I do want to thank everyone for being here today, because it's been fun. Like we never stream for long, do we? But but it is nice to have people coming and listening, especially for something so new. So thank you for that, guys.
Yep. And you've got our mugs on screen now, so you know who we are. I'm the handsome one, and he's not the handsome one. Actually, you've got a Catz logo on. I've just noticed. I'd never noticed it before. You've got a Catz. A Catz. Is that a Teespring shirt or Teespring?
It's a Teespring sweater, yeah.
Oh,
I'm just advertising my own merch there. Secretly.
Look at that. Okay, how do we find that anyway? Can you tell everyone how to find that? Because that looks pretty cool, actually.
Well, if you just go to the Conspiracy Catz channel, it's just all underneath the shop's linked underneath the channel. Perfect.
I'll have to check that out myself. There you go. Never knew about that. Never even noticed it. That shows how I have not been concentrating about what you were wearing. I was just thinking to myself, he hasn't got a shirt on and it's Easter. That's all I was thinking.
Brilliant.
But anyway, right, okay, guys. This has been great. Thank you all for coming. Any final goodbyes, Catz, or is that it? Are we done?
No, just my final goodbye. So goodbye. Thank you.